Now, it's been a while since we've seen City win back-to-back games in any competition, really. But after ending 2024 with a 2-0 win at Leicester, Pep Guardiola's side ushered in 2025 with a 4-1 victory at home to West Ham United last weekend. Now, many City fans will argue that there were a number of positives to take from that success over the Hammers, but it wasn't a perfect performance by any means from City, and Guardiola insisted after the match that, City certainly aren't back to their best just yet. So what did you make of the results, Stephen, and City's overall performance against West Ham?
Yeah, I think the caution is sensible. I don't think City are playing particularly well. The results are encouraging because I feel like very much it's very much a case of individual quality getting City through the games as opposed to collective brilliance. But that can be fine because individuals can play a team into form. They can play a team into confidence. But there's still very fundamental issues at the heart of Manchester City's performances right now. The gap between the defence and midfield, it's just enormous. Could literally fit a double decker coach in between it. It's so big, and we've got very obvious issues in a number of areas. The press isn't coherent at all because it's just an absolute mess. No one's pressing at the exactly same time, leaving big gaps in the heart of midfield. If Kovacic commits to the ball, he rarely actually wins it in a duel, meaning you've got so much space and teams running at City frequently. Defenders are obviously tired, but they did all right against West Ham, all things considered, given the fact they're getting very little support. And I think there's really obvious physicality and age issues in the squad still. You can see that City have found a little bit of confidence going forward, very much propped up by Savinho being absolutely brilliant. Of course, he's helping Haaland back into form as well there. And I think there were positives to take in terms of the individuals. Like, it's obviously good for Vardiel to have a decent game after a really tough few months, if we're being honest. Some mistakes hit left, right, and centre. Once again, Ake, in the face of adversity, lots of injuries at the moment. He stood up for the 60 minutes he was on the pitch and he was really good again. And I think Savinho, of course, it looks like that goal's done a world of good. So confident right now, an explosive, really complete winger performance from him. And Haaland looking much more confident than he has done in recent weeks too, as well, with a couple of goals. Foden getting a goal. Overall, I think it was one of those things where some of those players would have walked off the pitch happier than they were when they got on it, like more confident with more self belief. And he can only take that while hoping that Guardiola is doing what he can to fix the very glaring midfield issues that City have got right now. So collectively, not too great. Individually, a few positives there, and overall, it's a step in the right direction, if not necessarily convincing.
Yeah, and Guardiola said after the match that it would be a big mistake if these City players were to feel that they deserve something special after, so much success they had in the last few years,
Yeah.
and that they must continue to push themselves at the top level again and again and again. It just shows that he's demanding so much from his players still, and rightly so. If they are to really get back to the best, they need that from Guardiola. Now, you mentioned there Savinho. He's been one of the players that have really impressed City in the last couple of games now. He scored and assisted against Leicester, and then he's contributed to three of City's four goals against West Ham. It's been maybe a long time coming for him to really put his stamp on games. He's shown glimpses, but now it's great to see him now getting those goal contributions. And so how impressed have you been with Savinho?
Yeah, I've really liked him since he joined, to be honest. He's relentlessly positive, and I enjoy that. He's got that very Brazilian mentality of I will pick myself up and try and beat you again if I don't. And I think he's shown very obvious glimpses of talent. And I maintain that if Savinho had joined maybe 3 or 4 years ago and was in a squad blessed with players at the peak like Mahrez and Mahrez out wide, and then you had the quality of Grealish during his treble season. But City's basically just controlling games. I think Savinho would have played a lot less, but I think he would have played a lot happier. Like he would have been coming on for half an hour at the end of games here and there, well, also starting games here and there, but he would have been rotated a lot more. And I think he would have just been a lot more comfortable because City would have been cruising 3 or 4 nil, and he would have come off the bench and probably scored his first goal a lot easier with a lot less pressure on him. I think Savinho's come in and played a lot more football than anyone expected to because of the injuries, because of the confidence of the side, because certain players have dropped out of form. And I think at 20 years old, very much still a work in progress talent. I don't think the plan was ever to lead on in this heavily. And I think his form did dip a little bit here and there. But I think he started the season brilliantly. Loads of explosion, the Community Shield, the great assist against Arsenal, a few good moments. He was really good against Chelsea as well at the start of the season. It just required patience. And we're seeing what that looks like right now. His goal contributions in both of the last two games have been excellent. I think it's fair to say we probably won those games because of Savinho. I think it's more or less on him. He's brilliant link up with Haaland, old school wing play, creativity, full of vim and vigor. Like so much life in his performances. I love it. So yeah, I really like him. I think it's very obvious that he's going to the top. There's just too many strings to his bow. He can play the inverted right winger thing, cut in and shoot, or he can go out wide on the left and plays a classic touchline hugging winger. It felt like a throwback at times seeing good old fashioned wing play, very 90s era Premier League football. But then he can drift inside as well, and play a beautiful through ball to Erling Haaland. Uh, there's such creativity and life in how he attacks teams, and I really enjoy that. Like you can't pin him down, and that will treat him very well going forward. And I sometimes worry that some players are a little bit, predictable out wide. And I think Grealish has got a bit of that about him right now. He's going to cut in and try and get his shot away. Doku's got a little bit of that as well. He likes to beat his man a few times, and he becomes a little bit predictable. Both very good players, don't get me wrong, but Savinho, I don't know what he's going to do, and I feel like he could go inside, outside. He can drift centrally. He can just whip a crossing. He can run right at people and take them on. There's just so much versatility to his game that I can't see how he doesn't get better and better.
And we've seen Savinho play on both flanks in recent weeks. He's played on the right against West Ham. He starred on the left. Do you see him better suited for one wing or the other, or do you think he can have an impact on both wings?
I think City probably need him on the left actually right now. He seems very comfortable out there. Obviously, he played there for Girona a lot, and he was very good at hitting the cross into Dobvik, wasn't it, last season at Girona?
Yeah.
The big man up top, hitting the crosses to him, and now it's obviously Haaland. And uh, I think that's going to be a role he'll lock down. He's a really good crosser. He's a couple of wonderful crosses recently. I love the cross for Haaland for the header. Yeah, it was brilliant because I love the way that he hit the cross so early, and it's something that City just do not do unless you're Kevin De Bruyne. And Kevin De Bruyne will do that, but most of City's team, they take too many touches, they slow it down, and if he took two or three more touches and he had space to run into, you wouldn't blame him. It would. I feel like the chance wouldn't have been there because the defensive line would have been a lot closer to the keeper. All that space at the back post would have disappeared. So it was a genius to know to take it first time and trust his ability to find Haaland at the back post. Yeah, I think he'll play on the left for now. I think it works. I think Guardiola's quotes on Grealish, which I'm sure we'll talk about, are incredibly brutal, if I'm being honest. I think they're very telling right now. And Guardiola essentially said after the game, and I'm just paraphrasing here because I can't remember the exact quotes, but Guardiola basically said that Savinho's in the team right now because he's the best option and he deserves to be there. And given that he's saying that after a couple of performances on the left, I don't see that changing. I think he's going to stay there for a while.